Okay, just a few slides, don't worry. The title of this one was Ambassadorial Scholarships. And what you need to know here is that the Rotary Foundation provides global grants to fund scholarships. Scholarships must be sustainable with high impact outcomes in one of Rotary's 6 areas of focus. And you've probably seen this before, but it's worth repeating. Peace and conflict prevention resolution is the first of the 6, followed by disease prevention and treatment, water and sanitation, maternal and health and child care, basic education and literacy, and economic and community development. Now, the terms and conditions of receiving a global grant scholarship. The applicant must attend an orientation seminar, must undergo some training in the country, along with the Rotary clubs in that country, responsible for applying and gaining admission to an assigned institution, and must submit evidence of the ability to read, write, and speak the language of the assigned country. The applicant cannot be a lineal descendant of an active Rotarian and must have been out of Rotary for at least 3 years. These grants go to graduate students, and they last during 1 academic year abroad. The grant must be a minimum of $30,000, but no more than $50,000. The costs that are covered include tuition, books, travel insurance, living expenses, and a 1-month language training course as needed. So how do these things get funded? This is the exciting part. The minimum budget is $30,000. The Foundation's World Fund provides a minimum of $15,000. Clubs and districts also contribute district-designated funds and/or cash, and the World Fund matches the amount 100% for the district money and 50% for the club money. So in order to clarify, because it may be a little bit too complicated, this is a possible scenario. Let's say our club donates $10,000. The district will match the club's donation, so that's another 10. Now the balance at that point is $20,000. Rotary International will match the district funds 100%, so there's another 10. And Rotary International will also match the club's donation at a 50% level of $5,000, which brings the total up to $35,000, which would qualify for a scholarship. Being selected is not a trivial thing. It's very rigorous. You have to figure out what your classes are going to be and be able to explain how they're relevant to the Rotary goals. Education and professional experience related to the selected area of focus must be indicated in an essay of about 500 words. Professional academic plans immediately after the scholarship period require an additional statement, and long-term professional goals that align with the area of focus need to be obvious. The selection process also includes several interviews, and this is where it's determined whether or not the candidate has leadership skill potential, has a record of success in academic field or vocation, a commitment to community service, well-defined and realistic goals, and concrete ideas for advancing his or her chosen field. Sincerity about maintaining a lifelong relationship with Rotary will help. What will also help is if you cheer for the proper football team How'd that get in there? Okay. All right. At this point, I'm excited about introducing our real guest speaker, Nick Hunt. And I don't know if you people fully appreciate what an extraordinary Rotarian he is. And even at the club level, he's received lots of accolades, including the Service Above Self Award for the year 2012 and 13. This award is very rare. It's almost never awarded to a club member without extraordinary service, which in his case includes being instrumental in over 100, I think it's 103 exchange student programs, and these global grants, to his credit, there are 11. And today he's going to tell us how these 11, how they made out, and why it's a great investment in our club to produce such great results. And Nick, I forgot to tell you, you asked me how much money this club had donated to the foundation since its inception. $1,400,000. So here's the extraordinary man himself, Nick Hunt.
See, you conquered the technology.
I couldn't get it.
I've been in the club since 1977, and I want to take a minute to give you a little bit of the history. I was in this club when our first Paul Harris was awarded. I think Gabby was the president at that time. And it was Owen K. I forget his name now, honestly, but he was McDaniel. Okay, McDaniel. Yes. Okay. Yes. And you weren't in the club then, so thank you what you're doing. But as Dick mentioned, these scholars are required to be graduate level students now, and they're required to be in these 6 areas of focus that Rotary International has now adopted. But I served on the district committee from about the middle 80s to the middle, maybe late 90s and early 2000s with a man who was the district chair, and worked at the club level. And we successfully recruited roughly 20 students from the Beaufort area to submit and prepare for these scholarships, because we had submitted one in the late 80s, and we had submitted some other ones that didn't succeed. We weren't on the district committee yet, so we didn't exactly know what we were asking. We're trying to prepare these students for something that we didn't really understand ourselves. And we submitted a student from the Bluffton area. She was super qualified, but we didn't know how to prepare her right, and she didn't succeed. And so I said, damn it, I'm going to get on the district committee. Or I'm going to get somebody on the district committee. And a former member of our club, Scott Schaefer, he's a psychologist, and he and I got Scott on the committee, and then a few years later I joined the committee. So we knew exactly what the students had to be prepared for. And even though at that time you were not required to be a graduate student to receive this scholarship. Now keep in mind, this scholarship's worth about 30 grand. Eleanor Gray, John's daughter, received one and studied in England for a year. It pays airfare, tuition, books, living expenses up to the 30 grand. And so even back in those days, all the students that I worked with were doing it post-grad. Because I had students who wanted to apply for one as an undergraduate. And I said, I'm not going to work with you because it takes too much time and effort to prepare somebody. And you're going to be sitting next to somebody who's 28 years old, and you're going to be terrified, and you're going to bomb at the interviews. And in fact, I had a student from Beaufort who wanted to apply, and I said, well, I'd be delighted to work with you, but you're 2 years early. And so I sort of forgot about him. And when I got the applications from the district, guess whose paperwork was in there? His. He'd gone to a Rotary Club in Columbia and applied. And he came in dead last. But he didn't learn. But if he had waited a couple of years and applied, he might have done better. But we submitted about 20 candidates total. Jim Holden helped interview some of them. Greg Dyson helped. Larry Rowland helped. And we learned what it was that they needed to be prepared for. And at the district committee, I specifically was in charge of a subcommittee there, because if these students studied in Germany, they had to be fluent or have a commanding use of the language of German. And so what we did on our subcommittee was check for speaking ability, leadership skills, and language abilities. And even though I only speak Spanish beside English, if you ask somebody a question in English and have them give you an answer and tell them in advance, they have to tell you that same thing in French, German, Italian, whatever, you know when they're messing up. If they can't speak with fluidity, no matter what the language is. We even checked a student one year in Arabic, and I don't speak a lick of Arabic, but if you ask the question and they give you a 2-minute answer in English, you can tell that they're able to conduct themselves in Arabic. But these students from 88 through 96, and the last couple of students, I've actually submitted 2 students since then, one of which Rotary and the district declined because her father was an honorary member of the Rotary Club here in Beaufort. Nowadays, an honorary membership does not disqualify one. And I tried to explain to them then that honorary membership didn't mean a damn thing. They were really not in Rotary. They were just being honored by a Rotary Club. But they denied this person a scholarship opportunity because her dad was honorary Rotary. These scholarships and the interviews were rigorous. The students we were doing the interviews up in Sumter. And the students would arrive early in the morning and would be there till late in the afternoon. And they would meet with 2 committees or subcommittees. And I remember one year we had a student there not from our area, but he was a candidate or she was a candidate. And they were all in like a bullpen the whole day, and they were all sharing their anxieties and their nervousness. And this student was there with her former teacher, competing against the student. And so that's why I told the students, you better wait until you're like a junior in college, because you're going to be intimidated when you go up there and meet your competition, because it might be your teacher. And so, but we worked hard locally, and like I said, we submitted about 20 candidates from the Beaufort area for these scholarships that were worth about 30 grand. So the $1,500,000 and some thousand that the club has contributed, we got back roughly $400,000 to this community for students who grew up in this community. And these are the list of the students. Michael Horswell is a professor in Latin American literature and the Dean of Arts at the Florida Atlantic University in Boca Raton, Florida. My wife had to teach me Spanish at Beaufort Academy, so these are star people. Wendy Warner is married, and she studied in Strasbourg. And she's been in the hospitality industry for probably 25 years or so, and works and lives in Atlanta. One of the people I've totally lost contact with was with the Coastal Speech and Hearing Clinic here in Beaufort, Kim Main. And they used to have a specific category for speech pathology. She studied at McGill University in Quebec. Penny Parker is also a BA grad. She has a doctorate in art therapy. and she works in art therapy. I didn't even know what art therapy was, but it works with people that have depression, recoveries from cancers and things of that sort. She teaches at my notes tell me that she's teaching at a university in Edinburgh in Pennsylvania, but I actually think she's at Newberry here in South Carolina. And she also later was awarded a Fulbright scholarship. Will Cook went to Battery Creek High School, and his family were close friends with Scott Schaefer. And Will has become an attorney and was a law school professor, and now serves as counsel for historic preservation in the Washington, D.C. area. Cecily Smith, whose father was in practice with Francis Rushton here in Beaufort in Low Country Pediatrics many years ago. Cecily is an attorney and a partner in an Atlanta law firm, and her specialty is defending huge national and international companies